Excuse me. Good morning, everybody. My name is Reggie Beloved, and I'm joined today. Today is February 21. I'm sorry, February 22, 2023. And 10 o'clock a.m. on my end, and Maddy, it is
7 p.m.
7 p.m. where he is. And I'm very grateful for his time as we continue our interview series. If you guys don't know, I do this show. This is a reanimation of the Haitian Free Thinkers radio show that used to be on Blog Talk Radio, but now I'm using StreamYard, which has been wonderful. And I like to do face to face. I like to do video. And if you don't know about Haitian Free Thinkers, we are one of the world's few places for secular Haitians and non-Haitians. We are an inclusive group, and the group is on Facebook. If you guys are ever interested in joining, if you're on Facebook, then just look up Haitian Free Thinkers, send a request, and I'll get you in. Otherwise, we are on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr. We got a website. So we're doing great things all over. We've been active since 2012. So I got my little background behind me. You can't see it that well, but this has been our 11th year. We're doing great things. And Maddy and I have been friends on Facebook, and we will meet, inshallah, um,
Sure.
in the future. But I've spoken to him. I think he's wonderful. I think very highly of him, and I think you guys will find out why very soon. So yeah, so if you're interested in us, just at Haitian Free Thinkers, um, and this is a place where it was created for secular people, especially of Haitian descent. Because at the time when I first became an atheist back in 2009, I was very intimidated. I didn't think I was going to find like-minded people, and so I created this space for us and for others. And Maddy's going to tell us a little bit about himself and his journey. And so, without any further ado, I give you Maddy.
Thank you for that. It's my first ever interview like this, so and the language might be a problem. You guys, I'm not sure if you're able to clearly understand me. I've got an Indian accent, obviously. Um, I'm Maddy, and I'm from India, basically. I live in Dubai now. It's been 8 years now, and I work and live in Dubai in United Arab Emirates. So I've known my one of my, I would say, Mr. Reggie is one of the most genuine people I've ever met, to be honest. It's not, um, no exaggeration there whatsoever. He's been a guide. He's been a big brother to me, and in a lot of times of stress, he's been of great help that I can't put into words. So, yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Reggie, for this. Uh, I look forward to having a wonderful time with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I also think you're awesome. Thank you for your kind words, and you know, um, I I love your story. I love what I know about you because I feel like we share a lot of similarities. But one of the things that I really admire is the fact that you speak how many languages? Let's count them. English, which you speak English very well. You always are very shy with your. You speak English amazingly well, so that
I
don't even
appreciate
worry about
that.
that. So
I
English
think
is one, obviously. What else?
yes, and I speak my mother tongue, which is Malayalam.
Malayalam.
From Malayalam from Kerala. That's a state, and we speak Malayalam there. So I'm from Kerala, basically a southern state in India. That's one.
Okay.
Then I speak Tamil, which is another Indian language, which is a very old language. And then I speak Hindi, which is our national language. We do not have a national language, but it's considered an official language of India, Hindi. And then I speak Telugu, which is another Indian language, and I speak Tagalog from the Philippines. I
We're
can
in six so
converse.
far. We're in six.
I speak Arabic. I can't write, but I can speak. I can understand it fluently. I speak Nepalese. I was working in Nepal for a few months, so yeah. And I speak Punjabi. And I speak Urdu from Pakistan, which is kind of similar to Hindi, but the written text is different, but the spoken form is kind of the same, but different vocabularies. Yeah, and yeah, and then I started learning Polish a few weeks ago. But I mean, I was challenged by a Polish friend of mine. She said, "If you can make it, you know." So I've yeah, but I have lost touch because I wasn't well for the past few days. So it's time for me to get back on my Polish skills. So
Wow, that's 10.
and I might have missed a couple of languages. I don't know. I mean,
Well, that's very impressive. I speak English primarily, Creole secondarily. I understand French, but I love languages. I My favorite languages to learn is German, number one. Um, I love German ever since I was younger for whatever. Well, I know the reasons. I saw some Germans on TV when I was really young, and I just actually some people may not like this, but I saw a clip of Hitler talking, and I just
okay,
remember his charisma. I don't know what he was saying, but he just was
so
very
yeah,
emphatic. And then when I learned what those people were,
mm,
and I love the soccer team. They used to be a powerhouse back in the
so
80s.
so
Um, anyway, so German, Portuguese,
wow,
especially Brazilian Portuguese, I would
Port-
love that.
okay, mm,
The Romance languages would be something I'm interested in learning. Arabic,
yeah,
because I take the time to learn the most popular languages in the world. I don't know if
all right,
I'll ever learn Cantonese and Mandarin because there's a lot of Chinese people.
yeah, yeah,
But anyway, so I would love to speak all those languages like you, and but I really admire that about you. I think
I
you have a
appreciate it.
I think you have a great work ethic. You're very caring. You love your parents, and but anyway, so you are in Dubai, and Dubai is not necessarily very friendly to secular people. So we talked about the availability of some resources, and just safety in general. Like how's the environment right now for secular people, and getting resources to like look at your regular secular atheistic material, especially in the native Arabic
Yeah.
language.
Well, I was in Oman for 3 years before I moved to Dubai. So my Middle East experience would be 11 years in total and counting. So in my experience, what I've seen is UAE is the most westernized Middle Eastern country, with the exception of probably Lebanon. But what I mean is by the GCC countries: Oman, Saudi, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and UAE. So UAE is the most liberal. There are no problems as long as you're not vocal about it, as long as you don't go against any religious teachings or whatever the sayings, or what they respect most about their religion is you do not speak ill of them. I mean, or their religion or their prophet or their god. So as long as you don't do that, people are usually safe. But it is still it is still a punishable offense to be openly non-religious, because they would consider that as being in contempt of their religion. So um, there are communities here in Dubai, but we're not allowed to meet. It's kind of scary because you don't know. They might picture themselves as a non-religious person just to find out who the other non-religious persons are. They might invite you to a club or a meeting, and then that's when you usually get into trouble. So they will question you a lot. They will look at your history, especially on social media. Are you propagating anything against their religion? That's all they care about. But that's all they used to care about. But recently, a friend of mine shared a link to me with me, and I said that of any form of uh, you know dissent or speaking against any religion is currently a punishable offense. So it's illegal to be openly atheistic. But I know I know a bunch of people who are actually atheists and who actually live in this country. So as long as you don't go against their policies or their religion, you don't mock their religion, I think it's okay.
Okay. So the people that you know that are secular, are they locals or are they expat? I
They
guess.
are expats actually, but they are still from Middle East. I mean, some are Lebanese. I've got a couple of Lebanese friends on Facebook. I don't know them in person, and I meet them through Facebook and through atheist groups. So I just figured out they're from Dubai. Yeah, they work and live in Dubai. They just engage in social media posts and discussions and talks. That's it. Yeah,
Okay. So as long as you're not being vocal about it, then you should be fine. You know, you can't meet without possibly having basically a spy who could be there to find out your activities and then, get other
yeah,
people in trouble. So most people just kind of do their stuff online and
true.
live very private lives. Okay. So in the United States, it is different because you're not going to get in trouble. However, there is not a climate here where you would feel at ease, if that makes any sense. There are some places in this country that are still, you feel isolated. You feel that you will essentially be ostracized. So
The right
while
statement.
while the state itself is not going to prosecute you per se, there are different ways that people feel pressure. So it's not freedom yet. But hopefully we're gonna get there. And of course, I
Sure.
don't live in Haiti. This is Haitian Free Thinkers. I do know some secular atheist people in Haiti, but it's not it's not easy,
Yeah, I understand.
So that's that. But your family is of course Dubai is a Muslim. I mean, UAE is a Muslim country.
Yeah.
But back at home, from the state that you're from, that's not the predominant religion. I know India has a large Muslim population, but your background is Hindu. Is that correct?
Yeah, but India has almost 80% Hindus. India's
80%.
population, 80%, and around
Okay.
14% is followers of Islam.
Hmm.
And the third one is not even Christianity, it's Sikhism. Sikh, the
Sikhs.
people
Yeah.
that wear turbans. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's, and then comes Christians. So it's overpowered by Hindus actually. So it's safe to say Hindus are the majority. Uh, because it's it's almost 79.80 point 8, which is almost 80%. But yeah, the political situation in India doesn't help either. So
Now, India. When people think of India, I mean, you being Indian, I know you're in Dubai, but I have my own thoughts when it comes to India. When I think of India, I think of certain things. When people hear of India, more or less where you're from, what do they think of? What comes to mind?
what I think comes to their mind, or
Like from your experience, when people hear or how India is represented in in Dubai, like
yeah,
how is it presented? What comes to their mind? Like
well, that's a good
good,
question.
good,
Yeah.
good, bad, or indifferent. Like what is India to those people that you've met?
Well, two things come to mind. People who've never been to India, especially Westerners, they usually think it's all slums and Bollywood movies, and that's the picture that most people have that live outside India of India. So that's very far from the truth. I mean, it's true. We do have more than around 30 to 40% of the population living under the poverty line, which means we're a poor country. That's true. But we've made advances in the last 2 decades. We've made great advances in the field of science and technology. We have our own satellite. We've sent the cheapest satellite. We spent the least amount of money, and that was congratulated by NASA. And we sent many shuttles to ISS, to the International Space Station. So we are making progress in that field. But at the same time, the sad reality is we still are a poor country. You have most number of kids dying from malnutrition. That's from India. You have unemployment rates, and because India geographically is, we call it South India and North India, because there's a lot of differences. South India is culturally more vibrant, and vastly considered more educated than the other half, the top half, which is North India. But the most of the population live in the northern part of India. So we do have real issues. So what I feel is when people say they want to visit India or they don't want to visit India, it's usually um, the inhibitions. They have been misinformed or they have been informed by people who've had bad experiences in India. Yes, it happens. It does happen in India. So I think it's a mix of everything because it's very diverse culturally. You travel 200 miles in a train or a bus and you reach a place that's entirely different from where you started. New people, new culture, new food, new geography, geographically different. So that's it. It can be an interesting thing, and it can also be an intimidating factor if you are a tourist and if you don't speak any language or if you don't have anyone who speaks the local language. So unfortunately, poor people, they try to um, take advantage of tourists. That's when people usually have bad experiences. Yeah, but it's a wonderful place. We have mountains, we have snow, we have deserts, we have places with the most rainfall on earth is in India. We have one of the driest places in India. We have one of the wettest places in India. As I said, rainforest. We've got everything. So if you know somebody who is local or who is familiar with India or who's been to India before, I think he can take you to places, to the best places in India where you don't have a bad experience. Yeah.
And that will be me. Hopefully, in a couple of years when I get my stuff situated, I would love to visit. I would love to visit some of the famous sites. Of course, the Taj Mahal. I'm a nerd. I'm a religious
Yeah.
nerd. I'm a
Yeah.
culture person. I love culture. I love beauty. I love architecture. Some of the things that I do know about
Yeah.
India makes it very intriguing, very, very appealing. So I look forward to that. So, 80% Hindu. So Hinduism, for those who don't understand, because while it's a very, it has a lot of people, I think it doesn't get a lot of publicity, at least not um, good publicity as far as educated, accurate information. So very
Sure.
basic. What should people know about Hinduism?
Well, Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world. It is considered the oldest religion in the world, and most Hindus would not agree that it's a religion. They call it's a way of life. You can be a follower of another religion and still call yourself a Hindu as long as you align yourselves with the principles of Hindutva. That's what they call the concept of Hinduism. So it is, I mean, Hinduism, it is, you can still narrow it down to a religion like Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, Jewism, whatever it is. But still, the idea of Hinduism, I think, is it's much larger, and that's the one that's missing from other people's minds. I think they do not understand that Hinduism, at least according to Hindus in India, they would not categorize. Um, in a minor way, they would say it's much more than a religion. It's a way of life. That term is called Hindutva. So it accommodates everyone. It's a peaceful thing. But being an atheist, I was brought up in a religious family, a Hindu family. My dad is a very he's an ardent Hindu, I would say, and I've seen the good and the bad things about that. So I think it's a peaceful faith. But again, now the past few years in India, politically, there's a political turmoil in India. That's the divide has become big between Hindus and Muslims because of the government. the Prime Minister of India is a very famous Hindutva guy, which means he is all for turning this country into a Hindu country. That's when it started. The divide, people of Muslim faith started to hate him, and now he's got more enemies than friends because he tried to make it a Hindu country, which goes against, yeah, secularity. I mean, because then he introduced certain uh, regulations and certain things into the school curriculum, the education system that supports Hinduism, that promotes and propagates his faith rather than so that was met with a lot of criticism, and still things are uh, kind of in a turmoil back in India politically because of this, because of the religious. They call him religious fanatic, and I would agree to that because it's unacceptable. It's I would rather choose a secular leader than someone who's trying to propagate or push down his ideologies or religious ideologies down everybody's throats.
Officially, is India a secular country as far as their constitution, or do they declare themselves aligned with a particular religion? Because, like
No,
Iran, for example, Iran in the name is the Islamic, officially Islamic Republic in
yeah,
of
yeah,
Iran.
yeah. Oh no, we do not have. Our constitution clearly states, uh, you know, you have the freedom of religion, which means to freedom to choose a religion or to not choose a religion. So, and it also has an article where it says um, every citizen of India should develop a scientific timber. That's I quote that. So the other half of it I do not remember. Every citizen of India shall develop a scientific timber, and then the article continues on, which means it's clearly secular and supports or advocates rational thinking, critical thinking, and logical thinking. So there is no shade of any support for any faith, particular faith or religion in our constitution. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So your father's an ardent Hindu.
Yeah.
So how did you work your way out of religion and become secular and an atheist?
Well, I think I cannot pinpoint a time when I turned atheist. I always asked annoying questions um, right from my childhood. So I was always intrigued. I always had a lot of questions. I wasn't convinced with the answers they gave me, my parents, my teachers, my elders. And the abusive childhood that that I experienced growing up was just the final nail in the coffin, I would say, because I've seen my mom praying so many times to, just to be safe from my dad who was abusive. So, and none of those prayers were answered. And I figured out if there was a God, he would have definitely answered a woman's prayers because we were innocent, and the abusive one was always getting away. So that's when I started to think. I started reading books, and I would say um, the turning point, if you have to, if you ask me, if I have to admit a turning point, that would be watching Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, and that moment when I found out that there are people like that, and it was Christopher Hitchens' video that that actually started, prompted me to think. Yeah, and then ever since I'd never had to look back. So
So were you already atheist leaning or secular before you went on your travels, or it happened more after you left?
what do you mean travel?
So once you left India, you
Yeah,
started
yeah,
to
yeah,
go to different places. Nepal, you spent some time in Nepal,
yeah.
Oman. Were you already kind of out before you
Yep,
left
I
India?
was. I was, yeah. I left. I knew I was an atheist by the time I was done with my high school,
Oh,
even back in college. Yeah. So going into college, I had a huge problem with my professors trying to, propagate XYZ religions or supporting them or condemning. And one of my professors is actually, he was an atheist, and he was one of my earliest role models. Yeah, and he taught me to think, to ask questions. I already was thinking in that, that way. And I'm sorry about the noise in the background.
It's okay.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I would say around 17, 18, I realized I had nothing to do with religion or any god. Yeah,
Okay. So the what people call the Western religions, your Judaism,
Christianity. Yeah,
Christianity, and I guess by extension Islam,
yeah,
there's a creation story.
yeah.
What is the creation story from the Hindu perspective? Like, how did things more or less begin? Because I'm
From
not really familiar about it.
okay, so yeah, the Christian creation story is what is everyone is familiar with. Yeah, I understand. Well, in Hinduism, there is a creation story. Um, the most powerful of all gods in Hinduism is called Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva. His name is Shiva. He's got a third eye for the eye of knowledge, and he's the one. He's called as the destroyer. He can destroy everything and start again from scratch. So he is the one who is widely considered the creator. Although we have a person who is attributed to be called the creator. He's called Mr. Brahma. The name is Brahma. So he's the one who is supposed to have created this earth. But there's no process. I'm not sure about the process of creation, what happened, and like the Christian creation story. But I know he's called the creator, and Lord Shiva is the one who enabled, who supported him in the creation of this world. And that's how in Hinduism they widely consider it. Mr. Brahma is the creator, and Shiva the destroyer.
So Brahma and Shiva are two different
They are
persons.
two different. Yes, they are.
And
Yes.
is there a rank of basically who came first? Were they always existing together?
Well,
Or
I am not 100% sure about that, to be honest. Uh, because Brahma is called the creator, it's assumed that he created it, but the process of creation, I'm not aware of it, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure because there are varying versions of it. So
okay, that's
yeah,
fine. That's
yeah.
cool. So a lot of people think that Hindus are polytheists, but I'm hearing different based on a little bit. Would you say that Hindus are polytheists, or were they monotheist, or something else?
No, Hinduism is a polytheistic religion. It's not at all a monotheistic religion. It's not. We have more than 1 million gods. Hindus believe in more than 1 million gods. As I said, Brahma is one of them, the creator. Shiva is the most powerful of all these. We have different gods for different virtues and vices. We have gods for vices. They're usually on the other side, and we call them demons. But they're all grouped into one, um, assuming life is full of virtues and vices. So there are these positive characters that are gods, and there are the negative characters. The positives are called devas, called gods, and the others are called asuras. They're called demons. So
Okay,
for wealth, we have a female goddess. We have a goddess for knowledge, that's Saraswati. We have a
Basmati.
goddess for wealth, that's Lakshmi. Yeah. So we have different gods for different concepts. Yeah. So it's a polytheistic religion for sure.
And it's a very rich history. We have um, some Hindu temples here. They're very beautiful. Well, one in particular. The Hindu temple's name is a Hindu temple is called a gosh. I'm trying to remember the name. A Hindu temple, at least for this denomination, is called a. I'll think of it. But what about when we look at the art? A lot of times the representation of the people are blue in color. What is the story behind that? What's the color blue? Why do they color the
Yes,
people blue?
gods. They're all, yeah. It's probably because they're considered heavenly. They're from the heaven. And the demons are usually red in color, which means they're from the hell, or the fire represents the red color. This represents, you're right. most of the gods or goddesses are blue skinned. But there's an interesting turn to this. The first pictures, visual representation of a god, was all the famous Hindu gods. The pictures of the gods that we see today are graphical representations or drawings by a very famous artist called Raja Ravi Verma. He's from my state. He's from Kerala. He hailed from Kerala, the southern state in India. And he is the one who first gave a concrete picture of how Lord Shiva might look like. Until then, there was vague, there were vague paintings and drawings, but never with a clear face and a clear outline of a physical, structure. He was the one who first came up with that, and then people, went along with it, and that's now the most accepted and widely considered figure of gods that are drawn today in most paintings.
And I just remembered the word. It's a mandir. Mandir is the place of worship that's nearby here for the denomination of
True,
Hindus that is close by.
true. Mandir it's basically it's a literal translation of temple in Hindi
Mhm.
or Sanskrit, and that's what it means, mandir. So it means temple, which is usually a holy shrine of the Hindus. Because for mosques, we have a different name, masjid. That's
Masjid,
also
yeah.
again Hindi and Sanskrit, and in Urdu also from Pakistan. So that's the translation. It just means temple.
Okay.
But also Sikhs have temples. Their holy shrines are also called temples, but they do not call them mandirs. They call them gurudwaras. Gurudwara, that's why. But in English, you can say it's a Sikh temple. Yeah,
Mhm. Wow, thank you for all that great information. So India, like I said, so rich. We can talk for years, to be honest with you. I do
true.
know that it's a very, very ancient religion, very ancient peoples. Um, what about the influence of the British? The British
Mm.
were in charge of India for a while, and I think they left a lasting impression.
Yeah, they
So,
did.
is it looked upon as a good history, a bad history? They are they hated? What's the how do the people look at the British now?
Well, we as a people are torn between that. Uh, I mean, there are there's a good section of society, educated modern Indian society, that thinks British did leave a very long-lasting scar on Indian psyche, and that was a curse. And there are people who think the advent of Brits into our society, although we had a painful past, left a very long-lasting imprint on our society, which helped us in our education system, in our transportation system. So there are so many. You can argue for and against that point. I am actually personally torn between both, although I do not like the fact that we were looted, people were killed. They engineered famines as one of their techniques, one of their strategies to divide. Their policy was basically divide and rule, because when they came here, we were a collection of princely states. We were not complete states. We were not complete states were not formed back then. Each province had two or three kings. They were minding their own business. Yes, there were quarrels and wars and battles in between, but nobody actually bothered, with the other person's affairs. But collectively, we were a collection of princely states. They came here, um, and on the pretext of doing business, they found out we are rich in so many resources, natural resources, spices, gold, cotton, jute, and they basically pillaged every single wealth or resource that they could find. They transported it back to the railways were constructed for their convenience, from villages, from the remote parts of the country to the ports, to get them ready to be shipped back to UK. So we had our products sold at 10 times the price back in UK, Our laborers were killed. Our laborers were exploited. They were underpaid, probably sometimes never paid. And I just learned the fact that they engineered famines to cause more pain, because uh, you can't fight when you are basically, struggling to eat. So we had millions of people who died in the process of gaining independence. It started 100 years before uh, we actually got independence. We got independence in 1947. It came to a point they had taken everything that they could from India. And one fine example I'll tell you, it's a must watch, and I would recommend you. Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who was the Under Secretary General of United Nations, who is now serving as a politician in
Mhm.
India, in one of the political parties. He is one of the most, you must have heard about his name. Have you
I'm
watched the
I'm
video?
I'm I'm going to actually save. So I'm not being rude. I'm gonna
Yes, exactly.
make note.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to spell his name or her
S
name.
A S H I Shashi. A
S Shi.
SASHI.
Uh-huh.
THAROOR. Tharoor.
Okay.
Yeah. His video on the reparations that the Brits owe us, not the financial reparations, the emotion,
Hmm.
the reparations that they owe us. So that went viral, and that's when most Indians got a clue of the scale to which we were looted and taken and exploited by the Brits. They did so many good things. I think
I
it
see
was an
him.
advantage. Yeah,
So this
it was
man
an
is still
advantage.
alive?
He is actually, yes, he is. He's
Okay,
in his
wow.
50s, I think, or 60s. Yeah, he wasn't there in the independence. He's a scholar. He's a diplomat. He worked with the United Nations. He's a diplomat, and now he's a politician. So he's one of my role models. He's a writer. He's a nonfiction writer. He's published many books. He's given so many debates. I mean, talks. He's taken parts in debates. Now, I think the education system in India got a bit better because of the British, because they brought they organized our education system back. Before the Brits came, our education system was okay, but then it was not modernized. They radically changed the whole system of education. So that's a good thing, I would say. Although, as I said, there are so many things that I do not agree with. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this. Have you heard of the Kohinoor diamond, the crown? Yeah, that's widely considered one of the most precious jewels in the world. Now, they took it from India. It belonged to a princess in India. They took it, they shipped it back to UK, and now today it's in one of the museums in UK, probably London. Yeah. So that India has been trying to get it back because it's clearly ours. They had taken it as part of their loot. So we've not been able to. I don't know how difficult that is. Diplomatically to get it back, but we've still not been able to get it back to our country. That's worth billions, I think, billions of pounds or dollars. So, when you hear of those things, it doesn't paint a good picture about the Brits. And please tell me, you're about to ask me something.
Have you seen the movie Black Panther? Because that's one of the themes of the first Black Panther
I
movie.
have, okay, I have not actually. I have not. I've heard a lot about it and I wanted to say it. I couldn't. I
You
must watch that. Yeah.
You have to watch both. There's two movies now, but the first
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say too much. But
Okay.
those are very big themes in the Black Panther. So that's fascinating because with British history, they were one of the biggest empires in the entire world in history.
Sure.
And I remember I met, I'm a soldier. I was a soldier, and I was in Afghanistan, and I wrestled with the ethics. I hate war, but
Yeah.
I was in a position where I met a British soldier, and I remember asking him, I like, so, we were in passing, so I didn't have a relationship with this person. So I said, man, in my mind, I'm like, British history is so humongous, so large kind of like well, not kind of like Indian cult history, which Indian history is super large too. But I wonder, what do they teach the British about all their bad
True, true.
behavior? And he kind of, I didn't ask him that specific, but he gave me the impression that they run through things like it's not very it's not very detailed.
Yeah,
And just like the history between the Haitians and the French, I'm sure that they don't, in America too, to be honest, in some respects, they don't really go into details about the things that you're talking about. So a person who grows up in modern day England may not know some of the things that you're talking about and how bad the British behaved. And so I think that's very, very
true.
fascinating. Um, one of the things that I think about, like I said, I know India is so diverse, so diverse, and you come from the specific state that you talked about from the south. One of the things I've always wondered is when being as someone from that's living in the UAE, when someone looks at you, right? They don't know you, um, they've
Yeah,
never heard you speak. When people look at you, what do they think you are? Because I think in my mind, I'm always been curious about that. Well, how do people perceive you ethnically? I guess.
yeah. Well, um, I would like to make an analogy here. I may be wrong, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, um, how do Americans look at Mexicans? Hardworking, they're here to make money. They're here to have a better life. Am I right? That's kind of how they look at us. And the thing is, where we get a bad rap is our hygiene, basically, how you display yourself when you go out. Most Indians, we we live here as nomads. So the way you carry yourself is very important. That's one of the things that I have learned and I've seen as the reason why many people look down upon Indians. They do actually, but the educated ones, when they look at you, they know. Wait, they look at your social class and then they treat you likewise. If you look like if you're in a shabby clothes, if you're in a shabby outfit, they will treat you accordingly. They will talk to you accordingly. But if you're working in a bank, or if you're a teacher, or if you're a nurse or a doctor, because there are a lot of Indians in these fields, they treat you entirely different. That's my experience here so far. In this country, in the Gulf country, it's probably worse in countries like Kuwait and Saudi, I've heard, and Oman. Although my last experience in Oman was a decade ago, so I'm hoping things would have changed. But in a country like UAE, Indians, Pakistanis, Nepalese, Sri Lankans, and Afghanistan. All of these people, we're all considered as birds of the same flock. Basically, meaning you're here to work hard and find a living. You cannot afford to take care of your family if you work in your own country. So you're here. So we have another class of people from Africa, North Africa, like Sudan, Egypt, Morocco. They all speak Arabic as well, and the Arabic language, the knowledge of an Arabic language is a huge advantage. The locals of this country are extremely rare to find by on the roads. They're very rare. They're very less in number compared to the expats. So we outnumber them like probably 10 to 1. So they are very educated basically. They're obviously rich, oil rich. They're well behaved, they're well cultured. So you kind of develop a respect for the local people here because you do not expect them to look down upon you, to talk down upon you, or to treat you with contempt or with any kind of inhibitions in their mind. But the other people, the Egyptians, are one of the most disliked group of people, although I have great friends from Egypt, but they are considered a different group, and Indians, Pakistanis, and all these people are considered a different group. And then there's Filipinos. Filipinos are considered a different group because they stand out. They're hardworking, they're very friendly, they're jovial, they're helping, and they're very clean. They take care of themselves. I know so many Filipino friends whose situation back in their country is far worse than mine, economically, financially. If you look at their house, you wouldn't believe that these people are from that place. But here, the good thing that I find about them is I commend them because they carry themselves when they go out, they make sure they smell nice, they make sure they clean, they wear clean clothes, which most of my people don't. We just don't care. We just
Okay.
walk out. And that, I mean, it happens. That's the
Okay.
truth. Yeah. And so, um, that's the thing that I see as the big difference. I think if you carry yourself in a way where you're clean, where you're well spoken, at least well behaved, or then people will react to you accordingly. So you have to understand, India is the place of too many people. We just overtook China, not something that we're proud of. Yeah, I think now India is the most populous country on earth, not China. We've overtook China
Really?
probably 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, I saw it
Wow.
in the news flash. Yeah, and that's not something that we are proud of, but we seem not to care about it, or we seem not to be interested or to be serious about how they perceive us. That is one of the biggest things that I think my fellow countrymen need to look at. Um, yeah, that's what I think, because when they look at you, when they know that you're Indian, okay, you're Indian, so they automatically have this idea. You might not be that educated. You're here because you're struggling. You're financially here for, I mean, for a financially stable future. That's what they think about us. Yeah.
So if I understand you correctly, if if you walk out into the streets in Dubai, they probably know that you're a foreigner most likely, and they might be able to deduce that you're Indian.
99% of the people on the street are all foreigners. They're all expatriates. You've got Africans, you've got North Africans, you've got West Africans, East Africans, you've got Southeast Asians, you've got South Asians, you've got Central Asian people from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. But you can kind of figure out where they're from by the basic, the clothes they wear and the way they carry themselves. So yeah, they kind of make, but people usually do not, they mistake me for a Pakistani. They think I'm from Pakistan because I do not have the stereotypical features of a Kerala guy. Usually Kerala guys, they figure out by a very thick mustache and a bald head or a big tummy. That's how most people are. So they kind of, when I say I'm from Kerala, they're like, oh, you're from Kerala? You don't look like you're from Kerala. You look like you're from South India. I'm sorry, North India. South Indians are usually dark skinned and North Indians are fair skinned. So this is the common thing. So there are misconceptions. I'm talking personally when they look at me and when they ask my name, they say you do not have a mother tongue influence, because Keralites or South Indians are expected to have a very strong accent, whereby when they open their mouth, you can figure out where they're from. So, having worked in the customer service industry for the past 10 years, if I speak to a guy for 15 seconds, just by his reply to my how are you question, I can kind of figure out which state is in India he's from, or which neighboring country of India he's from, because everybody has a distinct quality, yeah, that you
I,
can identify.
and I agree. I really love that. I try my best to. I love guessing where people is from, and I'm really
True,
good. I'm really good about knowing where people's are from the little bit of clues that they give me.
true, true.
So, if you were to take us as we are right now, and you drop us in Mumbai or
Okay.
the big city, the
Yep.
capital, we don't say anything. We're just walking in the streets. How are we being? We're just two men, two friends. We're walking. We're not saying anything. What are the people gleaning from us? How are we being perceived, especially from me? But the Indians are sometimes darker than me, so it's not
There are,
necessarily the
yes, true.
color. It's not necessarily
Very
the color. It's how you
true.
carry yourself, like you say. There's all these
True.
clues. So how are we being perceived? We don't say nothing. We're just walking through the city. What do you think people are thinking?
Well, they would think I'm a local. for sure. They would think
Really?
I'm a local for sure because they'll figure out I'm Indian,
Really?
right? Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Uh, One more thing before we go to this: Mumbai is not the capital of India, although it's the economic capital of India.
It's New Delhi.
Yeah, it is. It is the biggest city in India, though. It's the largest city in India, and that's the home place of all these movies. That's how Hollywood, basically. That's where Bollywood is from. So,
And Mumbai used to be Bombay.
yes, Mumbai used to be Bombay. Bombay is the British name. The Britishers gave it name, and we changed it to Mumbai. And we have hundreds of examples of those names, British names, changing to new Indian names. So Mumbai is the most populated city in India, probably. Yes. And so
So
probably
they
nobody would notice
so
because
so
it's a very,
so they would know that you're a local.
they
Me,
would.
me, not so much.
They they probably, because as you said, we have dark skinned people than you. So they would probably think you're from Africa, right? But the thing is, it's like New York. Nobody would probably care because Mumbai is a very busy street. I mean, busy city. All the streets. People go about their lives just like that. They do not have time. You ask someone for direction, they might be willing to help, but they might not be able to help. They would just keep walking. So Mumbai is absolutely the wrong city to go to if you are first timer in India, for sure,
W-
because you would
Well,
be
overwhelmed.
intimidated by all the buzz, the hustle and the bustle. I know New York is very busy, but it's 10 times busier and roads are narrower and there are 10 times more people. You bump into people when you walk on the roads in India, any city, no
So
matter what.
what is the best first place to go when first visiting India? Again, very large
It
place.
exactly. It depends on what you like. It depends on if you want to have a peaceful first experience, if you want to be visit a place where there are a lot of temples, or do you want to see the city life of India, or do you want to see uh, you know if, if you prefer a tropical climate, you have different cities, different states that are tropical in climate. So it depends on what you like. But most people come to India where they come to either Delhi, the capital, which is closer to the place that has Taj Mahal, because those places there are a lot of foreigners and tourists who come to these places, and crimes are high in these areas in Mumbai and Delhi because there are a lot of foreigners. They have, you know locals have, figured out a way to exploit these foreigners, to exploit them out of their kindness, out of their money. They would come pretending to be a tour guide. They get close to you. They figure out where you're staying, your plans for the next weekend or for the next couple of days. So those are ways when if a stranger approaches you, there are a lot of scammers on the streets, as in any big city in the world. I mean, there are scammers in Paris, in Berlin, in London, and New York. So it's just like that. But there are a lot of people. That's when you will be taken aback by that fact because you probably would not have seen that many people, in such a narrow space. So if you're alone, there's a very good chance you might be confused. And if you're visibly confused, there will be people who come to you trying to be kind, trying to be supportive, to direct you to a hotel or wherever you want to go. And then they will follow you. So these are the things. I've seen so many videos where people were exploited. People have posted videos saying avoid these cities in India, or if you are in the city by any chance, avoid these kind of scammers. They have plans. They have very meticulous worked out plans that they keep trying on different tourists, and they fall for it every single time. So I would say if you're traveling to India, it's better that you travel to a much safer or less crowded city, and then you look at what that city is famous for, or what parts of India are famous for what geographically, or if you have a preferred climate, if you want to spend your weekend or your holidays in a cold place, then yeah, we do have places that are covered in snow, just like in America. So it depends on what you want. But most people, they just randomly travel to the biggest city because most flights, they have the most frequent flights to those places. And if you have somebody with you, it's great. But you'll find people that speak English. You will find on the streets. You will find help on the streets as well. But it's just that you don't know. You never know. So
Okay. You know what? The hour's flying by. Would you believe it? It's five
yeah,
minutes till
yeah,
the 5 minutes till 11 here, and I'm gracious for your time. I try to respect people's time. So
thank
well, I'm
you.
just learning so much. That's
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. I mean,
a lot, a lot.
yeah.
I happen to be reading Seth Andrews' book, Sacred Cows, last night.
Okay.
One of the things that, again, India, love it. I love it. I love the little bit I know about it, and I want to learn more. But one of the things that some people might think of
Mm,
are what people call sacred cows. In fact, it became such a thing that in American language, there's this thing
mm.
where people say "holy cow," and it's
Yeah,
in
yeah,
reference
yeah.
to
Oh,
the sacred cow situation
oh.
from India. So, can you touch upon that? If you know about the history of what that's all about.
The sacred cows you're literally talking about, right?
Yeah, people. So, this is my knowledge.
Yeah.
There are some people who do not harm cows because they are literally sacred.
Yes,
I believe that's a Hindu thing, but I'm not 100% sure. And so
it
these
is.
cows are allowed to basically walk innovated in
True.
amongst people.
Yeah,
Um, in fact, there's actually one, I guess, for lack of a better term, there's a festival where they
yeah.
take cow dung and then they throw it at each other. I've seen that on a show.
Uh-huh.
So, what do you know about those people who take part in those activities, and why is the cow looked at basically revered?
Yes, you were right. It is a Hindu thing because cow is, we call it a vehicle when you, a symbol. For example, Jesus Christ, the animal that you would immediately think of is a lamb. He always had a lamb, right? Every god in Hindu religion has a vehicle. We call that a vehicle. This is a literal translation of the word in my language. We call it a vehicle because this god has a animal or a bird that is resembled. I mean, they go together. So cow goes with one of the gods in Hindu religion, Krishna. Krishna has a similar story to that of Jesus, to that of Horus. He was born of a virgin. So it's the same story. He healed the poor, he healed the sick, and this cow is always his companion. Therefore, if you are a Hindu, your god, Krishna, loved cows, so you're not supposed to kill it for meat, to eat it. Cows are sacred because of the Lord or the God by the name Krishna or Vishnu. Both these are interchangeably. The Krishna is the childhood version of Vishnu. Vishnu is the grown up God. So that is the reason why people respect cows and they do not eat beef, because cows are one of the sources of beef meat. Other bulls, oxen, or buffaloes are also other options, but they would rather eat a bull. If you prove to them that it's a bull, they would eat, but if you say it's a cow, they would not. And this again is, there's a clear divide because only in the southernmost state in India where I'm from, Kerala, we Hindus, I say because my family is Hindu, I'm an atheist by the way. Hindus eat beef only in one state in India openly. They are Hindus, but they eat beef, cow meat also. They eat cow. If you leave Kerala and travel northern to the northern part of India, as you travel north, this sentiment of not harming or hurting a cow, this animal becomes more sacred as you travel north. So the northern part of India is predominantly Hindus. As I said, 80% of them are Hindus. So most of them do not consume cow meat because it goes against their religion. That is why when Muslims have a problem where there are places where Hindus and Muslims coexist, cities, provinces, villages, wherever it is, we always have communal violence. when Muslims choose to eat cow, and the Hindus will find out about it. If my neighbor is a Muslim and I know that he's eating cows, immediately I take up sword, I take up a couple of sticks. I don't look at all. I get all hysterical. So that's how uh, things have actually gotten from bad to worse because of one of these things, food habits, because of the eating of beef. They even killed once on it was a misunderstanding. Two young guys were beaten to death, were lynched to death by a mob because these Muslim guys were carrying. It was not. It was mutton, I think. It was lamb. It was a goat meat, but the other people, they surrounded them. They thought this was beef, and before you know clarifying it, they started beating these guys up. One of them ended up dying, and the other one was almost dead. Yeah. So, and then they found out that it was not at all cow meat. And then again, that started another group, series of events where they would target these religious groups would target the other people and beat them up for doing this. So it continues to this day in northern parts of India. It continues. It's a very sensitive thing in India. Yeah. And cows are allowed to roam the roads.
Yeah, yeah,
Therefore,
no.
nobody, yeah, cows are allowed to. This doesn't happen in South India. Again, this happens in North India. South India is only like 20% of India. The northern part of India is 80% of India. So most of the Hindus predominantly live in North India. So in North India, traffics come to a halt because of cows. The cows, they would just lie on the road and nobody would bother them. Nobody would bother them. They belong to somebody. They're not they are domesticated, but then they let them loose, and they roam around. People will feed them food when it travels. If it comes through my house, I will stop. I will go to my gate, feed them food, because I mean it's sacred to them. So that's why they are looked down.
As always, so much to learn, and I thank
Yeah,
you for your
thank you,
time.
sir. Yeah,
Gosh, how do I even wrap this up? Hopefully we can do this again. Would that be possible?
I would love that.
That
For sure. Sure.
gosh, so much, so much. We didn't even touch on so many things. I want to know
Exactly.
about I want to know about the caste system. I want to know about the future as you see it.
Yeah.
Like my perspective on, and I'm just dropping little hints of what's next
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
teasers.
Sure. Sure.
Um, the I saw a movie about Gandhi, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and the supposed rift between Pakistan and
Yeah.
India, who used to be apparently one, and then
Yeah.
they divided over a very silly thing from the
Yeah.
movie. It looks
Yeah.
very silly.
Yeah.
Um, but now they're big
Parts of the
rivals.
movie are historically accurate, parts of it are not. So, yeah.
Of course, of course.
Mm.
I learned from that movie in particular, if we're talking about the same movie, that apparently
Don't
Gandhi
you
was
see?
not a nice person at first. He was reportedly
Well, yeah.
very race.
Yes, there are people, there's a big section of Indian society that doesn't like or respect or love Gandhi the way the rest of the world does. So he's seen as a beacon of peace, but he was actually not. So there's a divide. There's a huge divide. Yeah.
So we got to talk about Gandhi, the caste system, Mother
Yeah.
Teresa, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
Do you know Urdu? What's his name? Mada. So I'm messing up his name. He's a secular guy who
Yeah.
went around the countryside showing people how the Indian holy men were tricking them, and then they ran after him, and then now he's
Mhm.
living in, I want to say Finland.
Oh,
um, and I'm blanking out on his name,
okay.
but anyway, so we have much more.
We
So
do.
if you can spare some time, we'll make it another appointment.
Perfect.
But I'm hoping the audience have learned at least a little bit. And like I said, India, you as a person, so much history, so much knowledge, and we'll do it again. So
Yeah, sure.
is there any last words? Any places where people might find you if they want to reach out some more, anything of that nature you want to leave?
Well, I'm on social media on Facebook. You've tagged me there, so I'm also a member of the Haitian Free Thinkers Forum. So, yeah,
Okay.
you can find me
So
there. Yeah.
so guys, wow, I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed it. Maddy is wonderful. I'm so thankful to know him, and I'm intending on keeping my promise to him, to meet up and have a really good time, whether it's in India or Dubai or wherever it's going to happen.
Wherever. Doesn't
Um,
matter. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So, guys, again, Haitian Free Thinkers is this is what we do. We talk to interesting people. We're going to have some interesting topics coming up, and we're probably going to have a part two, maybe part three. There's so much to talk about. So, thank you guys for your attention. Again, if you guys are interested in the Haitian Free Thinkers, just Google Haitian Free Thinkers. Will come up. Now, YouTube, Facebook is where the group is. We have a page if you don't want to join for whatever reason. Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, we're there. So we talk to interesting people like Maddy. And for those people who are still religious, this is who we are. We're regular people. We're good people. And I try to associate with the best, um, so yeah, so there's no need to, worry. If you have any questions, you can um, email Haitian Free Thinkers at gmail.com. There's a Google voice number 678-820-9474, which works with WhatsApp. So if you're in India and you ever see this in the future, feel free to text. But we'll be having more of these conversations, and Maddy's already agreed to come back. So we'll talk about some more. And yeah, so thank you again for your time. I look forward to the next one. And
Thank you so much. Thank you for
uh,
the opportunity to be. It's an honor
aw-
to talk to you. Yeah.
awesome. So yeah,
Thank you.
so I hope you have a good night, and we'll do it again next time.
Sure, sir. You have a good day as well. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
good night.